I just saved $50 by trimming Margot's nails all by myself. Margot, let's go shopping on Amazon. Use our $50 savings. Welcome back to Sweetie Pie Pets. Today, Margot is going to help us demonstrate how to trim your own Sweetie Pie's nails. So I'm not sure about whether or not groomers are considered essential. Here in California right now, of course, we're still practicing shelter in place. I've heard some people saying that they're still taking their dog to the groomer, and I've heard other people saying their groomer's closed. Some people might need to trim their dog's nails in spite of not having a groomer. So if you are the lucky owner of a tiny Chihuahua, that's awesome because that means you don't have to buy any kind of special trimming tools. You can literally just use human trimming tools. If you have a larger dog, then usually their nail becomes thicker and it wouldn't fit between, a pair of toenail clippers. So you may have to use something that's more along the lines of one of these, which is also for humans, or you might want to go ahead and buy a tool that's specific for trimming a dog's nails. And I'm going to put a link in the description below if you would prefer to buy a special tool just for your dog. But for Margot, I just go ahead and use human toenail clippers. Now, if you do want to go to a professional groomer and actually have your Sweetie Pie's nails professionally trimmed, that's going to cost you anywhere from $40 or $50 or more dollars. So it's kind of a cool thing to be able to know how to do it on your own and save yourself a little money. In the past, I've talked a little bit about your Sweetie Pie's nails. One of the things that you can kind of look at is whether or not your Sweetie Pie has white nails or black nails. It's so much easier to trim the nails if they're white, for the simple fact that you can kind of see through them and you can see where the quick ends. The quick is where the nerves grow out and there's actually blood in there. So if you cut it too close and you actually cut into the quick, there's nerves that will really hurt them and it's going to bleed and it's not going to be a fun experience for you or your Sweetie Pie. And if that happens, your Sweetie Pie is very likely to have an emotional reaction to it and absolutely hate having her nails trimmed ever after. So you want to be very careful not to cut into the quick. Now on little Margot here, she does have dark nails, so it makes me a little more nervous to trim them, but I'm going to show you guys some pointers what you can do even if your Sweetie Pie has dark nails. So a general rule of thumb to Margot, teach you have a thumb. So a general rule of thumb to keep in mind is that your Sweetie Pie is probably going to need her nails trimmed approximately every 1 to 2 months. However, I have found that if you have an area for your Sweetie Pie to run around, maybe outside in the patio, if there's like a concrete patio, that tends to kind of grind down their nails a little bit. Or if you are one of those wonderful people who walks your Sweetie Pie on the sidewalk, just the process of walking is kind of like a nail file. And so it doesn't require as often of nail trimmings if you do that. One good way to be able to decipher when your Sweetie Pie needs her nails trimmed, you want them to be pretty nice and short so that her foot can just sort of set right down on a surface and her nails aren't kind of growing out to a point that it makes her toes go up. Because when that happens, that's not too fun. Can you imagine walking around with your toes like this? Now keep in mind that Margot has had her dew claws removed. What are dew claws? Dew claws are basically what a dog's thumb would be. Dogs do not have opposable thumbs at all, but they do have sort of a, you could call it a vestigial limb that's sort of up on the back of their front paws. They don't have it on their back legs at all, but on their front paws, they're born with a dew claw, which is way up here. It doesn't function, it's not opposable, so they don't really use it to like grab. It's not an opposable thumb, so it's not used for like picking up items the way that humans use ours. There's some controversy whether or not you think that that's a good thing to keep with your Sweetie Pie or if it should be removed. Margot's dew claws have been removed. I have heard some people insist that dogs use their dew claws, but myself, I have seen some of my dogs who didn't have their dew claws removed when they were newborns. I've had some dogs that got their dew claws injured, so I do prefer just to remove them, and Margot does not have her dew claws. However, if you have a dog that has its dew claw, that actually is the very first nail that needs trimming because it never gets ground down because it's way up on their foot and it doesn't touch the ground. So the topic of this video has nothing to do with the dew claw and whether or not you think it's ethical to remove it, so please refrain from any judgment. That's a topic for another video. For today, we're simply going to trim whatever nails they have. So the very first step that you want to make sure that you're taking is that your sweetie pie is already in a position that she's used to and familiar with. That's why I chose Margot for this exercise, because she is the most familiar with being on camera. She's used to all the lights and kind of just sitting here, and she knows what to expect. So you want to make sure that your Chihuahua is feeling, comfortable and maybe in a situation that she's used to being in. She trusts you. And of course, you want to make sure that you've got some treats, because all of a sudden the treats turn it into a really fun activity. Margot, did you like some turkey? Now, Margot is the lucky girl who has never had an accident with her nail trimming, so she is not afraid of getting the quick cut. So far, she doesn't know what that feels like. If she ever did experience that, then all of a sudden she would hate having her nails trimmed. So again, I cannot stress enough, make sure you do not cut into the quick. So once you're sure your sweetie pie is very comfortable in your lap, she's not struggling, she's had a few treats, and she's happy, I just like to hold one paw like this. I'm not really squeezing it. I'm just kind of putting it between my index and my thumb, just to kind of open it up. You can see how each nail needs trimming. So we're going to start with just trimming off the very end. I'm not even going to worry about getting super short yet. I just want to start at a certain length. And if you do it really fast, then she doesn't even notice, as long as you don't cut the quick. You can start with just cutting off about 1/16 of an inch. What is that, Margot? And make sure to talk lovingly to your little sweetie pie, because she's going to be curious and she's not quite sure. But as long as it doesn't go into the quick, she's going to be okay. Maybe in between trimmings, you give her a little treat to reward her for being so good. Margot, you're so amazing at getting your nails trimmed. Now, one of the things you can do, once you've trimmed off just a little bit, you can look at the edge here and you can see if you're starting to be able to see the quick. The quick just looks like a little bit of a circle in the very center. And right now I can see that I have not trimmed anywhere near the quick. So I may decide to go ahead and trim off just a little tiny bit more. Good girl, Margot. Mommy's so proud of you. So I've done 2 little cuts on this nail and it still looks like there's no quick. I may go ahead and cut it just a little bit more. But this is where maybe it's okay to leave the nails a little bit longer. You don't have to cut them super, super short. And it's okay for her to have a little bit of a nail. That's natural. They use their nails for digging and for all kinds of stuff. So again, I'm gonna do a little cut, making sure I don't go into the quick. Now, if you do accidentally cut into the quick, she will yelp right away and likely it will start to bleed. If that happens, you can just take a little bit of flour and just stick it on the end, because that helps the blood to coagulate so she'll stop bleeding. But it's not going to remove her memory of that very bad experience. So that's why it's really important to make sure you don't cut into the quick. If Margot still had her dew claws, they would be right here, and it would be like almost like a little thumb that sticks out. And I would need to cut the dew claw right here. The dew claws tend to grow in a circle, and if you don't cut them, they'll grow back up into their skin and actually pierce their skin and be very, very painful. So you have to make sure, if your dog has dew claws, that you trim those on a regular basis. All right, now that she's done with her one paw, let's start with the other. Wow, Margot, you're so good. You don't even struggle. Mommy's proud of you. Just like with all your other activities that you do with your sweetie pie, make sure to keep it very, very positive and upbeat. Don't make her scared. And if she starts to struggle and pull away, just stop for a minute and talk to her lovingly and give her a little treat and give her lots of kisses. Kisses are important. Mwah, Mommy loves you. I like to just kind of lay them across my arm. Now, my Chihuahuas are used to laying like this, but if you've never held yours like that, they're probably gonna be like, what are you doing? And if that's the case, you can always just sit on the couch and do it while you're sitting on the couch. Oh, Margot, what is that? So on their back feet, all dogs are supposed to have only 4 toes. Every now and then you will end up with a genetic mutation where they end up with 5 toes on their back feet, so they kind of have a dew claw on their back foot as well. Hopefully that dew claw is removed so it never causes any problems, but if it's not, you would again need to trim that dew claw. We're almost done, Margot. One more foot. If your Chihuahua absolutely hates being held like that, you can also kind of put their foot backwards like this. Again, just cutting off about 1/16 of an inch to start with, and then you can go back and assess the nail and decide whether or not you think you need to cut off any more. This way you're keeping it positive, and the positive is outweighing the negative. Even if she doesn't love having her nails trimmed, she definitely loves treats and love. Sometimes the worst part of it is just the way that you have to hold them because they don't love being held upside down. It's okay. Mommy can hold you upside down, give you love and kisses. It's great. Wow! All done! So I hope you guys enjoyed Margot's lovely demonstration of how to trim your Chihuahua's nails. It's really not that difficult. I just cannot emphasize enough. Make sure you don't cut into the quick or they will forever hate having their nails trimmed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time on Sweetie Pie Pets. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos on all your social media platforms. Thank you guys. Love you. Mwah! Woohoo! I just saved $50 by trimming Margot's nails all by myself. Margot, let's go shopping on Amazon. Use our $50